This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Well, good morning. Thanks for getting up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Tim Gordon. This morning on Sunrise, one father's outrage as he calls out the system that he says could have prevented his 12-year-old son from being murdered. Plus, their prison is slated for shutdown. So what happens to the inmates who help fight wildfires? But before we get to all that, let's check in with Mr. Chris McGinnis, who's in the house today.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Nice
Good to see you
again.
Thank you, sir.
Good
you too.
to see some sun coming up over the mountain.
Beautiful day.
Beautiful morning.
Yes.
But a hot day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the live look from our solar vineyard camera in Dayton. Silhouette of Mount Hood off in the distance. You never get tired of that shot, right? We'll give you a different perspective of a different mountain from Timberline. It is clear up over the Cascades. The shot there over Mount Jefferson, and to the Oregon coast we go. You can see maybe a little bit of fog right along the beach here from our Yaquina Bay camera in Newport, but generally it is clear along the Oregon coast, which is going to translate to a very warm day there as well. 67, last check at PDX. We are in the upper 50s in Hillsborough. It's 60 in Scappoose, 61 Aurora, and the big picture across the state, the cool spot on the map right now in the Oregon Cascades, 43 there in Sun River in Central Oregon, and Tillamook and Newport are in the mid to upper 40s right now as well. A heat advisory for the I-5 corridor from Clark County south to Eugene. It does not include extreme northwest Oregon, the Coast Range, or the coast. You will be escaping the heat today, but the rest of us are going to sizzle. Upper 80s by lunchtime, and I've got us topping out at 96 degrees today. Tim, the heat peaks today. We back out of it a little bit tomorrow, and then much cooler for Monday. We'll check out that forecast in just a few.
All right, Chris, we'll talk to you soon. Well, we start this half hour with heartbreak. We are hearing from the father of a 12-year-old boy killed in what authorities say was a murder-suicide in Damascus. Patrick Landers is convinced that his son would be alive today if authorities took a suicide threat from the killer seriously. This is 12-year-old Patrick Landers Jr. in a picture with his father. The boy was killed late Wednesday afternoon at his dad's home in Damascus. His killer, who authorities identified as 34-year-old Ricochet Kerr of Hillsborough, then killed himself. Kerr is the estranged husband of Landers' adult daughter. The couple were divorcing, and Kerr had a restraining order demanding he stay away. Landers says that at a hearing for that restraining order on Tuesday, Kerr claimed that he would kill himself, but nobody did anything about it.
The judge granted the restraining order because the guy was just being dumb. Stands up in court, says, I'm going to kill myself. Right there, it should have been over and done. We shouldn't even be having this conversation.
He should have been held.
Yeah. They should have took him in and said, hey.
But now his son is gone, and Landers is beside himself with grief. He says he and Patrick Jr. did everything together, and his son was always happy at playing, especially with his video games. Now, as for the concern about the court appearance, we reached out to court administrators in Washington County and got a response from the sheriff's office. They say court deputies would talk with a person in crisis and get them help, usually from the mental health response team. But they went on to say that no deputies were in the courtroom during that specific appearance and were not notified of any suicidal statements by court staff on that day. Well, if you or someone you know is in crisis, know that there is help. Please use it. All you have to do is call 988 on any phone. It'll connect you to a crisis center and a trained counselor. Well, Gresham detectives have 2 people in custody as the major crimes team investigates a deadly shooting. It happened around 3:30 Friday afternoon at the Crystal Creek condos. That's off 162nd Avenue, just south of Burnside. The victim died at the scene. Well, the Oregon Ethics Commission has voted to launch a full investigation into former Secretary of State Shemia Fagan. Members say Fagan may have violated state ethics laws, but the vote does not rule on that one way or the other. It simply means the commission will investigate further. This is all related to Fagan's work as a consultant for a cannabis company during her time in office. Well, there is new pushback and clarity around a prison closure in Clark County. Larch Correction Center is set to close down this October, but folks who work there and live in the community pledge to keep it open. Alma McCarty looks at the situation for us.
Last week, a group of more than 100 packed into a conference room in Clark County to discuss the merits of Larch Correction Center amid seemingly abrupt notice of its closure.
We're here as a community trying to fight to keep our facility open, to do the things that we've been doing.
Speakers highlighted inmates' contributions to fighting wildfires, Larch's one-of-a-kind educational environment, and its unique, long-standing relationship with the community in Southwest Washington. Many found it hard to believe that the Department of Corrections would choose to close this facility in October.
This isn't making sense. This isn't adding up. What is going on here?
I reached out to the DOC for answers.
First and foremost, we'd say that it has nothing to do with the facility itself, the performance of the staff.
Chris Wright is a DOC spokesperson.
It's primarily because of its location. It's remotely located there in the southwest part of the state, higher up on a mountain, literally, and compared to our other facilities. And it's in need of an estimated $31 million in repairs and infrastructure improvements over the next decade or so.
As for the Larch inmates who help fight wildfires, like the Tunnel 5 fire in the Gorge, that service will shift to Longview.
Plan is to make 70 beds available in Longview. And that's not a prison, it's a reentry center. And it's actually, we think, a more beneficial location. It's a little farther away.
Farther away from areas prone to wildfire. Larch was evacuated during the Nakia Creek fire last October, a first, Wright says, in the DOC's history. The closure due to these reasons, plus a reduction in the need for lower security beds.
Pretty much the only solution for keeping the facility open long term would be giving people more stiff sentences, say for simple drug possession. And I think in this part of the country, especially, it's pretty clear we've moved away from that.
Opponents say closing Larch still isn't the answer to a declining incarcerated population.
Closing a standalone minimum facility like Larch Correction Center is not that positive ray of hope that a lot of people are looking at.
Let us continue the good work that we're doing, and because we're really doing reentry, and we're really having an impact on the residents that we are responsible for, as well as this community.
So today, the group fighting to keep Larch open will be out at Esther Short Park in Vancouver to hand out flyers and to talk to people about the state's move to close Larch Corrections Center. They've also contacted various elected leaders on the state and the federal level. Well, 2 months after that massive landslide on Mount St. Helens, drivers are finally able to take their cars home. As you may remember, many folks had to abandon their vehicles and get airlifted out of the slide zone. But Friday, thanks to a temporary one-lane road that is now in place, the first drivers were able to get their cars. One driver who says he was just 5 or 10 yards away from being swept away in that slide.
You know, I was thinking if I leave a little earlier, maybe it hits me. If I come a little later and it's dark, I don't see it. And the next day, there were supposed to be kids coming up for field trips. So at the end of the day, you know, a car's a car.
Car's a car is right, and thankfully no one was injured in the slide. It's unclear when the temporary road might open to the public, but officials have indicated it could be several years before a permanent replacement is in place. Well, another major traffic alert we're watching, the Lewis and Clark Bridge between Rainier and Longview. Yeah, it's going to close for 8 days starting tomorrow night. It has a wide-ranging impact on the commuters' lives. Coming up, we'll break down all the ways it's going to affect those who drive that bridge. Stay tuned.